Peace, 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 peace. On this beautiful Sunday, as I'm glowing like the sun, vibrating with this yellow on a Sunday. Give an honor to Source. Give an honor to the Creator. I'm gonna jump right in it. Shout out to a lot of you that are here today. Let's give an honor to the ancestors known and unknown. Man, you know how I get. I'm gonna dive right into a bit. Generational curse thing. I've been reflecting on my life, reflecting on so much, and a lot of stuff is just becoming more and more clear. It's like the smoke is clearing. The way just the stars are aligning. Just so many things are vital right now. I love this sun right now. I'm trying to get it because it's not that warm outside, but I'm gonna get that beam right through the, So, let me jump right into this. Again, just a simple task. It ain't even simple being a generational curse breaker because it's things you cannot unsee. It's things you're actually given in the spirit realm and also in this physical realm to face. That generational curse shit is like, some may call it like the healing journey, doing shadow work, internal work. So many things consist of like, did I just see that? Am I the one that has to have the courage, the persistence, being consistent with almost like staying away to protect my peace? And there are some things that came up around this. Like, this is one huge thing that I was actually ooh, that's beautiful, seeing all these birds. Man, that's man, y'all could just see this, but this is a beautiful tree, and all of these birds, let me stay on task. This is just beautiful. One thing that was huge for me, I spoke to someone recently that was, telling me, highlighting how it's so vital who you have around you. And a lot of us probably aware of this, but not just who you have around you, but the intentions around who it is you have yourself surrounded with in the season that you're in. It's very vital because are you intentional where you're going? And then all the people surrounded around you in your inner circle, are they also a part of, said journey? No matter what is being said, a lot of things is being highlighted right now, bro. Like, to the point where you can be in something to where, you speaking your truth or whatever, and then here go all these projections, which not to be true, but that's the consistency of being secure within yourself. The persistence it takes for you to still go along with your life, not allow the naysayers, the outer shit to really cloud your judgment. Again, the beauty of it is seeing the bigger picture. Because as a generational curse breaker, in facing the things that, your mother and father didn't have the courage to do, or they just simply avoided due to probably repressed emotions, repressed memories, so forth. Let me see, can I get this set up? And so on and so on. Y'all just bear with me. I know I can get this to stand up. So yeah, with that being said, I came across a video that had mentioned how it said how your mother and father not just are your greatest teachers, but through their dysfunction, through their dysfunctional ways, through their dysfunctional ways is like our greatest teacher to learn what we're here to either face or heal. And as I say that, it's like a huge 18-wheeler ride by, and it says super ego, literally. And so, that's one thing I've been realizing that has been very apparent in trying to break generational chains and cycles is the ego, the balance between ego and, your higher self, or, the balance between not allowing your ego to succumb or consume you more so, with what you're coming into, with what you're learning from the past and other people. And my greatest teacher has been these one-on-ones in relationship, just to reflect back the importance of what I'm here to do. And one thing that has been very apparent, again, generational curse breaking, is I was talking to someone and they mentioned like, you know, how in the darker community per se, and I like to say like, you know, I don't like to use the term black. Y'all know that already. There is a thing where you know, the whooping your kids, beating your kids, some people, you know, there is a thing to where I grew up, and for those that are familiar or new to the journey, that I reflected on a lot of that, like how I was bullied so early, and I can literally at a time remember the people who gave me whoopings, spankings, whatever you want to call it. And when I sit here and say I could, like, my body held those memories and how that literally created so much rage within me, because at a younger age, you're not able to defend yourself because a lot of us are smaller. And through that, it became very frustrating at an adult age, because I told myself, now that I'm bigger, you know, there's things that you could, you know, you could either retaliate, be revengeful, or even when it comes to these said people, you know, those repressed memories in that you had with them when that ass whooping was inflicted. Let's be real. You know, there could be a lot of different emotions around it that comes up that can build a lot of anger and frustration. And me recognizing how much I carry that through a lot of relationships where I didn't recognize at the time how much at the moment I didn't know how to regulate emotions. And so when I started looking at the generational chains and cycles that I was breaking, I told myself I will not be that father or even be in a relationship, partnership, marriage, or union with someone who does not reflect that same core value when it comes to, like, you know, believing that you should whoop your kids. You know, an innocent being. And, you know, there's so many more things I'm going to get into, even like the whole, from my perspective and experience of, and this is not everyone that's darker or melanated or have a darker hue, but I always speak from my experience of like being a generational curse breaker, is that, are you aware that what you are here to change, what you are here to face through, you know, facing the fears of how you can either be outcasted due to the fact of how you face, you know, these said people who bullied you, who said these things, like literally taking back your power. And I've had to do that countless times to where I am now, to really speaking up to the people where at a time, can you imagine a mother who through her unresolved traumas or unhealed traumas that she never chose to face, and or a father, and, you know, whatever you experience, they take out this rage and frustration out on you, and then you have to someday tell yourself, like, do I want to forgive them? Do I need to? Do I need them in my life? Do I have to? And, you know, again, being a generational curse breaker is huge, because you're sitting here like trying to ponder, you know, on how it is I'm supposed to navigate life with or without these people, because especially if they're significant, like a mother or father, then they're supposed to be a safe place. They're supposed, naturally, I was expressing to someone that, you know, I was reading in the book, and I recommend this, it's like The Body Keeps the Score. And I was in the shower, like, you know, reflecting, like, bro, I literally can have memories come up, like, literally when I was whooped. And then the rage that come up because I'm in a place where I cannot defend myself. I literally used to run away. Like, literally used to run away from whoopings. I remember memories like that. And I remember times I used to fight back. Like, at the time, my grandmother. And then I start to realize, like, at this moment, I'm like, yo, I need to feel this. Because one thing that is highlighted for me is, like, noticing how the very things we did not receive in breaking generational chains is facing those very things and then trying to embrace it and to try to navigate and try to become something again you never seen or witnessed. The challenge in being a generational curse breaker has a lot to do with the fact of like, yo, you know how challenging it is to become something you never seen? And then to listen to the naysayers or people who are said family that try to tell you how you should raise yours. They try to attack you on, well, this what I would do. Like you will I remember people will literally, you will have people that will literally get angry because you're not whooping your child. And that's so challenging when you're trying to be a generational curse breaker. When you have to check them and be like, just because you did some shit doesn't mean I'm going to do it. Just because you grew up in religion and you feel this said, you idolize or you feel like this character is your said savior and is coming to do all these things. Well, I'm not here to do that. Respectfully. And respectfully, you don't have to fuck with me. You don't have to like me or accept me. That's where the I don't give a fuck mentality comes from when you're a generational curse breaker. When you're here to do things that are completely different. That is against societal norms. That is against family structures, old family structures. That when you recognize that you are attacked because you don't want to fuel the old dysfunctional family structures. Because being a generational curse breaker will force your ass to see who you are and to see what type of belief systems you have valued over time that led to self-destruction, self-sabotaging behavior. And you will have people try to chew you up and down. And one of the most important things and the courageous things you can ever do is to live your life upon your happiness, prioritizing your happiness internally and the ones you are with. Making sure that people that you are surrounded with value the same things that you have. Reflect and value the same things that you love and appreciate. Because love isn't getting beaten, isn't getting abused. Love isn't getting emotionally, having to be emotionally abandoned and emotionally abused or, physically, verbally. And I'm not saying I'm perfect or no one's perfect through unlearning the process of like, this is what the fuck I went through. Wow. And then the emotion that comes up around it, like, wow, I went through this. Man. Then you have to try to talk to an emotional, unavailable parent or a parent that doesn't know how to communicate their emotions or don't even know how to communicate, period. Healthy. And I've seen it. It's so frustrating when you see it and then you see it like play out through people. You see it, I've seen this dynamic that a lot of you probably are familiar with. When you are facing a mother wound, a lot of you women, is that sometimes your mother can be your worst enemy. And it's not that you want to be an enemy to her. She's an enemy to herself, her deepest insecurities. To where no matter what you say or do, no matter how quiet, no matter how aggressive and so forth. And I'm not saying to avoid confrontation, meaning like not have those uncomfortable conversations to where you need to get it out so you can feel better. Because in that position, what you're doing energetically, you are speaking up for your inner child. Those conversations that some of you wish you could have had, and it's not always the best conversation. That's what being a generational curse breaker is. You have to have those uncomfortable conversations and speak your, let that person know the uncomfortable truths about how you made them, how you felt and how you were hurt. And it ain't gonna always pan out and go the best way you feel or the best way you want it to. Because sometimes you gotta go through text, you gotta go through whatever it is, knowing that they got it and being at peace with that. Because what it does is that you are reclaiming your power. The little girl in you is reclaiming that power that was stripped and taken away from you from that emotionally unavailable or abusive, whether physically, mentally, and so forth, mother or matriarchal figure. Because a lot of them have dealt with a lot of abandonment issues. This is why I learned to realize you have to learn to give yourself grace and give them grace, because they really don't know. like I've said this before, how many of our, caregivers have really grew up in environments where they had healthy dialogues with their mother, or even had an emotionally safe place to really express and be accepted for who they are, not just as a woman, but as a human being, as a mother. And when I look at the demographics for a lot of us, especially me, I look at my mother, she never had a safe place like that. I look at her mother, she never had a safe place for that, just by knowing the experiences and the history of the men that they dealt with. So a lot of them eventually, like, it ain't unfortunate, but a lot of them, due to their not facing their internal wounds or really taking accountability, you see a lot of women, which is just fucking not fantasy, it's reality. They become bitter, and their intentions are literally to destroy or have this idea of what your relationship should be, and it all mirrors their deepest insecurities, their deepest unfulfilled dreams, or their unhappiness, and it is projected onto you. So no, I'm letting you know now, no, your marriage won't ever be good enough for your partnership, or the best thing I can tell you, a lot of you that are probably going through this or will experience this or see this, it's like the best thing you can ever do is go no contact, or just keep people out of it. And I know it's painful, but that's one thing I had to learn as a generational curse breaker. It's like learning to be done with shit, learning to change my mindset, learning to change the habit. Because a lot of us have developed a lot of habits around the values that we grew up in from these said people. You develop unhealthy habits, unhealthy mindsets, with unhealthy patterns of dealing with people emotionally. We have, and breaking generational chains and cycles, is that you will come to that self-realization that, man, I developed these habits. What is the term? I think it's a habitual habits, or just these habits or patterns around self-sabotaging behavior. You got people right now will be mad because you choosing to be non-traditional and wanting to honor your journey, and protect your peace, and don't want to be a part of those karmic family functions. No, I don't want to be. This is no judgment, to each their own. When people come together for said holidays or whatever, I don't get into that personally. Because as I gradually realized breaking generational chains, I realized, like, I start seeing the patterns around how you had this cousin or this person would just come specifically just to show this or brag about this. You had the family drunk. I just got tired of the same narrative. Me personally, I got tired of showing up for shit, overgiving. When something happened, something happened in the family, people wait till a funeral happen, somebody die. I got tired of that. I got tired of waiting to grieve someone when they leave, instead of grieving their ass now. Realizing, like, look, I can no longer deal with this. This is unhealthy for me. And this affected my emotional health, well-being, my physical well-being, all of that. It's affected me. So respectfully, I'm going to grieve this relationship spiritually and physically. Cut whatever ties, and then go no contact or keep the distance. I love you because I love myself first. But this is what it is. So being a generational curse breaker is learning to go and move on, whether with yourself or with set people who reflect the same core values that you have, instead of trying to people please. That's another fucking pattern that we have, boy, especially in the melanated community. And this can be anywhere, but especially from my experiences, the demographic, people pleasing. Trying to please the coach, the mother, the people, coming in and, I just refuse to be scapegoated anymore. That's what I feel like. I refuse to be scapegoated through what it is people feel like I haven't accomplished, what I haven't succeeded in, or what I feel like they feel like I don't have, based off their perspective, based off probably from their experiences. Not wanting to be around in these environments where I know that there's no oneness involved. It doesn't reflect the same core values that I have. That doesn't mean you may not see people. I'm just able to recognize the pattern of like, okay, something has to change. They're not going to change. I do. I have to. If I don't, then who is to blame? That's where my mindset can change completely around. If I'm saying I'm this generational curse breaker and this integrity, it doesn't bother me that people, anymore, because at the time it took a lot of courage and build my self-esteem to realize, like, you know what, this time around I don't have to show up for whatever event or whatever. I'm okay with that. If I have to protect my peace, if I know what it is I'm finna walk into, I don't have to do that. Like I said, to each their own what other people want to do, but I had to realize there was more peace in me doing things non-traditionally. I'm not going to put on this mask. I'm not going to sit here and say, because life be life, and yo. You know how many people right now are saying things like, for instance, I could not convince people or my kids to believe in a said character that this is why you get gifts. I told myself as a generational curse breaker, baby girl, baby boy, you are the gift. The present right now is the best thing you can be in. You are the gift. I'm not going to convince them of this character where they eventually grow up and realize, like, hey, you lied to me. I'm not going to, as a generational curse breaker, build foundations upon inauthenticity or fucking lies. Because once you put that energy out there, there are consequences. That energy comes right back, because guess what? I wouldn't be talking about it. I didn't grow up in environments where, this Santa Claus dude or whatever it is, learning the truth and the history behind that. I didn't see that growing up, folks. I didn't see that growing up, y'all. Am I angry? Yeah, I'm angry at the fact that people lied. I'm angry at the fact that they were dishonest for me to come to find out, like, well, why doesn't this happen every year? Then having to alchemize that and speak about it, and then to realize, like, okay, now that you are a father or this person, you can do things differently. You can be the gift for your kids, or you can also gift them things in a said timing to where you're not giving them this false expectation or hope of something, which I've seen so much of a fucking pattern of. When you see people in position, like I said, life be lifing. You got people right now who are disappointed and feel shame and guilt because they're not able to get their kids, which again is my perspective, my opinion on things, like their attachment to certain things, like when they're not able to get their kids certain gifts. And that shit I used to sit back and look at the demographics I grew up in, and it was so focused on, well, who had the best clothes? Who coming in dressing new? Who had the freshest this? Who got the new car this year? All this superficial shit. And I sit back and I'm like, my priority right now, at what I've learned, is like, am I at peace? Do I value my life? Can I see gratitude? And that's one thing I implement, and I make sure as I had to unlearn the mindset of the value system of what other people that I grew up around, is that I realized they were never grateful for what they had. They never showed gratitude. I was never taught the importance of gratitude. I mean, simply getting up and being grateful for the day, being grateful for my health, being grateful for the clothes on my fucking back, being grateful that whether I have $1 in my account, being grateful that I'm able to have food on the table, being grateful that I have shelter, being grateful for the simplest things. I mean, the simplest things. So I would see so much of this emphasis of this false hope, given to these kids. And, my partner and I was talking about this the other day. Like, I was like, yo, I remember going to school and being bullied and picked at because my mom at the time, and it's just the actuality. I can laugh at it now. It's like, now that I know more of it, You know, you have mothers and fathers who chose certain escape through drugs or drug abuse. And then here it is, you're looking forward to presents. You're looking forward to things. And, you know, I'm saying like, well, dang, you know, I got bullied and ridiculed just because, you know, there was so much peer pressure. You know, that there would be so much emphasis in the school system around like, oh, well, you know, she had mentioned like, yo, I remember my teacher used to ask like, what am I getting for Christmas? Or, you know, and you know, kids are naturally like excited. But when you looking at the structures and demographics of people, everybody don't come from a silver spoon. Everybody, and I'm not blaming nobody. I'm just giving y'all the actuality of when I'm talking about core values or the importance of what we should be implementing in our kids and what is naturally given to us by source, which is there is no said worth on our life when it comes to material shit. There is, our worth is already, you know, our worth is not less or more because of what we have. And so I used, you know, her mentioning like, you know, the teacher used to ask like, well, what everybody's getting for Christmas? And, you know, sometimes motherfucker had to lie, cuz, oh yeah, I'm getting this just to cover up the fact of, you know, it's wild how we grew up in environments where we were taught to lie or be dishonest and not live from integrity. Because the people we did not love themselves. We were really taught these self-sabotaging and self-destructive fucking patterns that a lot of us now are unlearning. You know, as I sit back, I'm seeing people rush, panicking, trying to scramble up stuff just to please their kids. And if they don't, they'll be so disappointed in themselves. They'll feel like they came up short or undervalued. I'm like, yo, this is wow. And the school thing is even more crazy because you have people that will literally pick at you because you will come to school with the same clothes you had the year before. There were times I remember where I would be like, I remember this time where I would have to, you know, my sister had something like a book bag. And, you know, just because I think I came to school year because my mom didn't, you know, we didn't really get much or probably get anything for Christmas. And again, it's like the bullying because, oh, you got the same thing on you had last year. Oh, your shoes not new. And everybody's looking forward, looking externally. You got kids looking externally towards like literally you have their programming has been like they're better just because they have this. Or we don't even see the awareness around like how that is making kids or projecting onto other kids from our own shit, making it seem like they are less valuable. And a lot of this stuff is so rooted in our abandonment to where I told myself as a generational curse breaker, I will not continue that pattern or habit from what I've learned, carrying that disappointment or carrying that discomfort in not being able to do something just because some other person feels like I'm obligated to, or they feel like they're obligated to. And when you stand up for yourself and stand in you know, as a father, like saying like, you know, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. And it's not coming from a vindictive place, but I don't believe in that. Your experience with your Santa Claus or your Christmas is completely different than mine. No shade. But it's like, I'm not here as a generational curse breaker to continue a dysfunctional foundation of people pleasing, looking externally for love, you know, seeking validation or approval. I'm here to actually unlearn and teach not only myself, because I've had to parent myself to instill in my kids that your first and last love is with you. Because the love that I know, I'm also unlearning, and it's not even really rooted in authenticity. So, I'm unlearning something. So I got to have grace with me as well as my own child has to have grace. So I'm building telling them like, you are loved, you are valuable, reminding them that you are the gift to this world that may not ever realize that you are a gift, but you need to know that. So again, a lot of us as generational curse breakers, the importance of what we're implementing is shifting the whole perspective. And you will have people who come against that. You will have people, I've seen people, insecurities come up because they feel that they're so obligated to do something when the kids, and I express this to my partner, your kids are a gift. They're given to you for you to learn through them, and they are to learn through you. So whatever we're putting out and instilling in them, they learn through even our, subconscious cues, or basically our nonverbal cues, and what we're not saying. And they also pick up on what we're, subconsciously, what we feel. When we think that we're not, and this is something I've had to learn, because I realized, like, even when I was younger, and now trying to break generational chains, I used to feel what my mom felt, wondering why she would cry, what she was going through. And now that being a father, it's like I can see, your kids can pick up on your frustration, your anger. So imagine now around these seasons where we're not even being honest with ourselves. A lot of us, the world, when you look at humanity, it's like they're not even being honest with their kids about, well, this is a situation that I'm in. Right now, I'm not able to do this. And when you don't do that, you will continue a cycle or a pattern of false foundations that would eventually self-destruct. You will self-destruct, or it will literally lead you to a path of destruction. Because we don't want to be aware that a lot of around these times, I'm not saying not to come together and, and there's not love and not do certain things, because again, that's what people traditionally do. I'm not against that. My own thing that I oppose to and object to, which is my life, is the fact that I will not continue said patterns or behaviors of things that I know not to be of authenticity. I'm not asking to be liked and accepted, but I refuse to where, a child that I've been, given and, the honor to be a father. And that's why I feel like people differ from, they don't realize, like, I felt like at a time, the parents that I had, and due to their, dysfunctional ways or things that they didn't want to face, a lot of us felt like we were burdens or curses to our mothers and fathers. And we were, we were given the short end of the stick. And so now that we want to do certain things differently, hear all of their fucking abandonment issues and the insecurities coming up. And when you don't want to do things a non-traditional way, or you want to do things completely different, because not only it's not more focused on the external, it's more the internal. I want to protect my peace. Maybe I don't want my kids around and trusting, I don't trust you in there. I don't trust my kids in your care. Maybe I don't want you around because you might try to, influence them on something that I know not to be true. If they are given to us, we are guardians for them. It's just like when you see out in the world. All these kids already being exposed to certain things. Kids that are teenagers being exposed to porn, being exposed to so many things so young, being exposed to drugs and so forth. We also, just as people feel like they have an obligation to try to implement certain things in our life, being a generational curse breaker, you have the say so in the command to break that shit, to say no. And when you do that, you're taking back your power and reclaiming your power. You're reclaiming your power from the essence of who you are. That little boy and girl, you're reclaiming your innocence. Because a lot of people don't realize during these holiday season, doing a lot of this stuff, The deeper perspective I'm looking at is that it robs people of their innocence because they're so focused on trying to seek approval. This is not everyone's perspective. This is why I see that what has affected a lot of people and humanity. Because a lot of it is so focused on superficial and external approval or acceptance rather than just realizing, like, when you look at this character, okay, what does that reflect back to me? When you speak on, like, when I say doing things not traditionally, I'm not going to tell my child that her savior is some said figure or some said man. No. If you are your first and last love, that means that it tells you that paradise is within in the word. So the God has always been within you. The source has been within you. Your emotions come from within you. You think for yourself. You are connected to something higher. You are something greater. I will not teach my kids something like that. Because guess what happened? The same thing that happened to me and for a lot of us out there that are coming into an awakening and realizing, like, we are transitioning. We are in a different age and moment. You are not going to come over here again, especially in the darker community and around the world. You are not going to come over here and think you're going to try to give me said religion when I know a lot of the backstory and how it was used to manipulate, to control people, to not even think for themselves. You will not come over here and think you're going to, again, in the Latin sense of education, means to lead one out of ignorance. But when you look at the whole systems that are crumbling, when you're seeing how divided it is, again, amongst how we even give our kids over to people we know nothing about. Yeah, they went to get their degrees and so forth, to each their own, but I know nothing about this said person, how they are mentally, emotionally, how they even handle people physically. Like I said, I'm not perfect in what I do, but my awareness around what is shifting is being, it ain't about being right, but y'all will see here soon what I'm speaking about. And this going back to, if I'm recognizing now and regulate my emotions of seeing the importance of how it is I haven't had emotionally safe, like to feel emotionally safe throughout the years. Okay, being a generational curse breaker is recognize those fucking behavior patterns and those traumas. So I can also be that for myself and my kids. So they don't fall into the same pattern. So I don't teach them the same behaviors, whether son or daughter. And how important it is to have a partner or people who are around you who also value that, who also accept you. And that leads me to right into a whole nother subject. Whether you are with people, no matter their color and creeds, a lot of us are here to break generational chains. And I recognize that so clearly now about how it is people's deepest insecurities and abandonment wounds comes up around the fact of whether you bring someone home that don't look like you, or you introduce someone that doesn't look like you, that doesn't have the same core whether religious beliefs or creed or culture. You will see how much people are uncomfortable with that, but that right there still should never, and this is a process, should never keep you from not only loving yourself, but loving that person by studying your truth. This is a huge thing in the dark community and people of lighter shade, where self-hatred, or I like to call it racism, is a very big thing. And as a generational curse breaker, I will not teach that shit to my kids. Like, they don't even see color. They see color, but it's the people who act like they don't see color and don't act like what they know that their ancestors or people that came before them built their foundations upon. And so I see how huge it is, me personally, even having kids by a woman that don't look like me. Like, it doesn't bother me. I'm so confident and love myself and love her and appreciate the fact that I was actually meant to actually connect with this woman and see the bigger picture of the beauty in how, though, you know, your kids highlight so much and mirror back so much of things you did not receive, or your innocence that you realized was stripped from you. It really didn't matter what woman that I had kids by. I just realized how much it highlights so much of bring awareness to my own mother wounds and father wounds when I look at both my daughter and my son, to realize how much the uncomfortability around how I did not feel emotionally safe, and am I being emotionally safe for myself and them. That's why it's so important when you have a relationship, union, partnership, or who you have kids by, is that said core values, whether self-respect, self-sufficiency, self-love, self-care. And again, this is not just going to be happen like this. This is a process of not only elimination, where you're moving people, but eliminating the old version of you and having to walk away from that old version of you, and that version of, not just the version of you, but I mean walking away from people. Being a generational curse breaker is realizing, like, really seeing when you do bring people around, the uncomfortability in people. They're really seeing, are they open as they say they are? Recognizing whether families can be prejudiced, recognizing whether people, even that are darker, who don't even want to have shit to do with people that are lighter, due to their own deep insecurities, due to their own woundings. All of these things we try to find to divide ourselves from loving not only ourselves, but being together, being in communion. I can't ignore it, and I won't, because it's just, as a generational curse breaker and as a man who realizing how he has to recognize his wound to rise into this divine masculine principle and operate in this energy, that comes with facing the fears of not being accepted, embraced, acknowledged, or whatever it is, and not really giving a fuck if you ever do. There are things personally, like I say, I don't care for sympathy. There are things personally I'm disgusted with when I see how people treat someone just because they don't have the same fucking belief system, that they don't believe in the same religion, and automatically outcasted, automatically labeled as an occultist, or labeled, when most of religions are occult-like. Most of everything we do are ritualistic. When you look, but I realize some people conscious awareness, or that their mind can't go beyond their said religions or their belief systems. That's where you have to make peace and realizing this is this motherfucker perspective of me. I don't give a fuck. I'm at peace with realizing, like, they may not ever accept or like me. So what? Life goes on. People leave this world and die every day. So what? So as a generational curse breaker, the courage it takes for you to get up and realize that you determine your happiness, not no one else. I won't ever teach my kids that their happiness is dependent on whether their father gives them gifts, whether their father can offer this said things materialistically or anything. No. Because you know what they'll teach them a pattern of? Unfulfillment. Realizing that they have to seek this in a said man or woman. I won't ever. What I've learned in being a generational curse breaker is realize, why would I teach my daughter that your father, you come to your father for everything? No. There are times where you come to me where you may need said clarity or said things to where you need reassurance. But at the same moment, your truth and who you are, as you gradually grow from a child, as I'm your guardian, you will gradually grow into this awareness. And some people, I realize in humanity, and when I'm starting to see the bigger picture, no judgment. A lot of people, maturity, or a lot of people cannot grow outside of their norm or expand their horizon because they are blocked emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And this is what keeps them stagnant. Their programming of whatever, whether it be holidays, religion, and so forth, this is what keeps them in a said box. And they will fight you tooth and nail. They will be angry with you to protect that said programming or that said belief. Okay, cool. You not for me. Let me Let me show up as myself and attract that authentic aspect of someone who doesn't judge me from just because I choose to have my own said beliefs upon life, as you do. But I'm not going to be the one to be angry with you. I'm actually going to respect myself enough to let you live your life, not try to control it. And you will see that a lot as a generational curse breaker. You will see people bring up so much their insecurities and how they will try, a lot of parental figures or people who, due to their own abandonment issues, will literally try to control said relationships or implement themselves in some type of way to where their own selfish attachments to that said child, they will try to cause that child misery and destruction. And eventually, again, whatever they put out, they reap what they sow regardless. Integrity is still living through it and still being honest, because a lot of these kids and a lot of this generation now that's coming, it's so amazing to me. Some people have a perspective like, oh, we can't do nothing with them. You're right, you can't do nothing with them, because they already know who they are. They are very advanced. We are just here not to destroy them. See, a lot of us as generational curse breaker, a lot of the shit that our mothers and fathers put us through because of their sense of unawareness or not wanting to face certain things, man, that shit was really, let me tell you what I went through. Sometimes I just be like, how? Like, that shit really could have destroyed me. And it almost did. But I was reborn through it as a phoenix. I realized those said things that happened, I choose to alchemize. I choose to do what I'm doing now, speak about it, use my art, use my gifts. You know, I was telling my partner, I was like, you're in a position now, a lot of us are in a position now to recognize what has happened with us and to us, to make peace with it. Because sometimes through war, there has to come peace. Warring with yourself, realizing that people are at war with themselves internally and it has nothing to do with you. Because all they really ever do is that you will recognize that the more you become in alignment with peace and harmony, the more you will love that and appreciate that and value that. And it will highlight those who don't. Because you will recognize how much they get up and their focus reflects their own internal battle, which is whether it's war or peace. And this is where you align with people, which is happening, the shift where the importance of being a generational curse breaker or healer or facing these, you know, whatever it is within yourself. There are others that will align with you. There are others awaiting. That's why I love Earth, Wind, and Fire, you know, that song Fantasy. You know, what is that? Many lifetimes brought you here and something. It was like how you align with those that are awaiting you upon your arrival. But it's almost like the future version of you is awaiting for you to allow the past version of you to let go of the past version hand. And that's the beauty of a generational curse breaker. Is that when you're asked to elevate and to ask to move on, sometimes it's very tough, very challenging to let go of the familiar aspect of who we once were and the comfortability of that. And when I look at society again, I see evolution. You know, I see, you know, the energy is like people are so in a rush around these times. They're trying to rush to get here. They're trying to do this. But I also recognize the underlining of how, like, people are doing what, you know, what's the saying? You know, you're trying to give what you don't have. And that's why I feel like it's also been a theme, the have and the have not. So why would I be dishonest with myself? Put myself in this position knowing, like, this is what I can give to myself right now. So this is what I can offer. And what I mean by that is, like, the beauty of, like, outside of what people feel like they can give in these seasons, what are you giving to yourself? What can you give to those, like, kids? Like, I started to recognize this. Before you came into this world, you knew nothing about religion. You knew nothing about these programs. You knew nothing about holidays and all that. So people can argue me up and down, but that was instilled in you. So with that being said, I feel like the greatest thing we can ever give is not so much of time, but our energy. You know, an exchange of things, and whether that be intentional or not, is determined and up to you. So one thing I recognize around these moments, which I don't have to wait for a holiday or said things, is like, I can be grateful for everything now, for what I'm letting go of and what I'm coming into. Can I be grateful for and cherish? This is what my message before I go. Can you recognize and cherish what you have presently, whether the simplest things and the people? Because everyone come and go. Everyone's going to leave. And is that something you want to implement in your child? I was telling someone, I was like, bro, you don't even know when you're a child and what duration they're here on this said earth or whatever. You don't even know, and this is how I start to appreciate simple things in my life, is when I start to unlearn and unprogram the shit that people thought they were valuable, and I realized like it wasn't valuable to me. I started to recognize what was simple, and cherishing, memories are so important. And one thing about being a generational curse breaker, I was telling someone, like, there's a saying that goes like, people never forget how you make them feel. And that's been very vital for me, because if I don't feel safe and secure around people or within myself, and I see how much that affects me and the ones around me, I don't need it. I cut it off. Then someone said, I saw this, is so beautiful. It's like, are people better, better when you arrive? People are they better, have a better awareness, or just pretty much, are they better when you leave than when you arrive? You know what I'm saying? And so when I look at the culture in the old way of society, when I look at certain things that have happened and what I walked away from and no longer going to be a part of, I realized like, wow, that is very important. To where demographically and through family and letting go of the dysfunctional aspect of that. For one, I didn't forget how I felt when I was around or experienced certain things. So for one, I had to accept that either I have to let it go because I cannot change it, or I'm going to continue this pattern of going where I know I'm not appreciated and accepted or embraced. And that plays a major part in my inner child, and because I want not only in the importance of me being seen, but the others who I'm going to be around. Then I also realized, like, okay, are you the same? Are you better like when you arrived than when you left? Do people see the importance in that? And that's another thing. No. And so then I realized how important it is now to protect my peace. Like, again, how other people live, that's their journey. But I started to realize how important it is now to love yourself in moments to where you really appreciate to cherish the simple things. We don't know the duration of no one here. We don't know like when someone's coming or going. And one important thing that I remember sister saying is like, cherish who's ever in your life. Like, learn the lessons. What does it teach you? And that's the beauty of like my journey unfolding is like seeing the importance of like learning to, even through other people's ignorance, through other people's woundedness and their projections of what they feel I should be doing, or what they feel, certain things should happen the way they feel. I'll be like, what can I learn from this? And then moving forward, and then me cherishing my peace. Let me cherish this moment and realize like this is something that no longer serves me. That's my lesson. And so as a generational curse breaker, I'm recognizing the things like, I don't have to do what my mom or father did. I don't have to be anything like the family that I grew up in. I don't have to look at the world through a wounded lens like they do. I don't have to look at the world like society does. I don't have to view the world like even a partner, even my daughter. Everyone's perspective is different. So these seasons are showing me the perspective that I realize in the season that I'm in, and the importance of like who you have around you, and where you're going into is like allowing yourself to just grieve when you are going through these cycles of life and breaking generational chains, because it's not as easy. It will become easier through the lessons, but it's also like, again, cherishing the simplest things, making memories. And I don't, for me, what was big for me is like, there came a point in my life where I realized, like, wow, I can get up and make great memories, beautiful things, because in the environments that I was in and breaking the generational curse, breaking that shit, is like, I deserve a life that is peaceful and harmonious. I'm worthy of that. I need that for the, for my soul, for who I am. I need that. And that's important, to be surrounded by that. People who would encourage you to focus on your peace and your happiness and protect that. People who will appreciate that when you come around and cherish you, that embrace you. And that's a part of, again, what I've said in my previous video, that a lot of people, when I'm recognizing the wounded parts of them, and I recognize this within myself, is that breaking that generational cycle of not needing to be in the emotional safe place, for like being that for myself, most importantly, and then being able to create a harmonious, peaceful, prosperous, prolific, life, however that unfolds within me. And that comes with not doing things that other people feel you should do, even when they feel obligated, because it's really challenging and tough when you want to live your life, even with your kids or whomever you with. And, there are people who wanting to play God or want to control the narrative. And that comes with the territory. Once you start setting boundaries, you will become the villain. It's that simple. Once you start standing firm and taking back and reclaiming your power, you will become a villain in a lot of people's eyes, but you have to realize that you are the guiding light for them to their healing, to whether they want to heal or not, because you can't force them. You can't make them. Because every day I realize, as a generational curse breaker, I choose to be that. I choose to realize, like, I have to stay consistent in this shit, no matter how ugly it may seem or how much things may seem like it's falling apart externally. I have to realize, like, internally, things have changed. Why am I surprised that things are changing externally? My mind has changed, so I have to surround myself with like-minded people. That's been a generational curse breaker. Okay, if my internal world is changing, my mind has changed, then my physical will change. My appearance will change, my mindset, my speaking, my approach to life is more intentional. That's the beauty. And I'm grateful, because I'm like, man, again, I grew up in environments where you will have people literally get up and they don't know the importance of valuing peace, harmony. When you grew up in a dysfunctional environment or family who was conflict driven, trying to escape through drugs and alcohols all the time, bro, some things eventually click. Like, man, you know what? I'm tired of this shit. I don't want to be around this. I love you. You'll see me on the, I see you when I see you, but this solitude I'm needing, this moment I'm needing, is helping me face these very things I need to see, so I can obviously do something completely different. And especially when you have kids, there is a responsibility. To whom is given, much is required. And there's beauty in that. It's beauty in to be able to, if you're not even a father physically, you still are a father. Someone's still looking up to you. You still have a fatherly energy. If you're not a mother, someone still is looking to you. The youth, wherever you are, someone is still watching. And you got some watching the fall and wanting to see you backslide or see you do the same shit. But so what? You're still unlearning. You have shortcomings. Don't let no one ever make you feel guilty and shame, because a lot of that is rooted in their own abandonment issues and their feeling and it's also rooted in their sense of not feeling safe, secure, emotionally, mentally, and it shows externally. A lot of people, how they treat other people is a reflection of who they really are inside. And that's what I had to learn through my own shortcomings, through my own accepting accountability. Like, bro, nothing's going to change until you change. And then when you do, then you got to realize that the people around you will change. That they especially don't reflect those same core values. So the generational curse breaker is a beautiful and beautiful thing. At a point in time, I feel like it was a fucking curse. But that's being able to recognize the curses to what you kept going, to realize that you are the gift. You are the gift. And don't ever let someone trick you out your position. But that's one thing, when you stand firm and you stand in your truth and you stand in your boundaries and you create healthy boundaries, people will try to trick you out that position, that ordained position, or just that place of you simply being grounded in your truth, in your authenticity, in that integrity, in that peace. Don't let nobody trick you out of that. Because they will try. Energies will try. It's a spiritual warfare. But at the same moment, now, we moving on. We moving on now. The new generation shall be greater and better. And more advanced. It will. It's written. And so I realize, like, I see now how much people are fighting a war within themselves, and due to their attachment, due to whatever it is, their insecurities, they're at war, so they want you to fight against them. They want, some people actually live off that shit. I used to see that growing up. Some people live, they actually live to create war, to create chaos. There's energies like that. I've seen people literally get up, try to create arguments, try to pick fights. And again, that's a lot of people grew up in, when you look at this country, a lot of what you're seeing now is fueled off of that same conflict energy, chaos energy. And it only is leading into better days. It's only leading into a better generation where a lot of us are here for a bridge to be a bridge from fucking chaos and destruction, all this warlike mentality, all this, discomfort and dis-ease. We're literally a bridge so our kids can live in a more harmonious, environment, communities, places, friendships, unions, whatever. Is that not what we all desire and deserve? But that starts with us. So again, being a generational curse breaker, I see the beauty in, like, me facing the very things that people are afraid of, especially in my lineage, so that I can uncover these things that have been hidden. Then be able to see the treasures that lies beneath it. Then be able to face my uncomfortable truths and realize, like, you know what? I don't have to be uncomfortable no more. I can be at ease. I can be at peace knowing that I face this. I can see the victories now and reflect back on my whole life and be like, yo, whoa. I don't have to be more focused on what it is financially I have or materialistically. I can look at, like, the victories, the simple things to where I had to endure, I had to face, get through emotionally, realizing the healing happens through me. So then when I'm on this retreat, at this resort, I don't have to talk about none of that shit that happened, years ago at home. If I do, I more reflect on it and give gratitude. But it won't be like talking about things that has nothing to do with that present moment. I'll be able to enjoy it and bask in it. So just know the importance of your individuality is vital. You're loved. You're beautiful. You're seen. I appreciate you. This too shall pass. Just remember, it's you. It's you. And it always will be you. And this coming season, I had to remind myself, and I guess I'm going to remind y'all, this season right here, it's okay for this season to be about you. It's okay for you to be more intentional with how you show up for you. That's okay. Because the opposition to that will just show you who don't know how to do that, or it will also show you who do value that, who does, who do. So it's okay to be more intentional with how you move. That's one of the biggest things I learned as a generational curse breaker. It's like being more intentional, allowing life to unfold, like a fucking flower, and realizing, like, wow, I'm still being watered, But then who do I have around me to water me and I water them? Who else around me seeing the importance of blossoming? Who else around me see the importance of where it's a time where we may have to relocate and uproot ourselves and move into a place where, you know, our garden within ourselves we appreciate, and the others around us also see the importance of our gardens being watered mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. So your journey is never in vain. And that's what I feel like when, you know, learning from people who will come and project certain things that had everything to do with them and nothing to do with me, is they wanted me to believe that I should feel guilty or ashamed over whether it's my past or whether I'm at currently, to keep the focus off of like what I should appreciate and be grateful for right now. To keep me from like the mission or the focus of like, they will never know like what it is to walk in my shoes or what I've overcome. And that's why you got to count the little things and be grateful for the little victories, because they add up. And it never matters what someone's perception of you is. That matters to you first when you get up. So take care of you for you. Peace and bliss. Shalom.